Hello everyone. Today I am going to turn this old MacBook into a server which runs 20.27. So yeah, let's do it. This is going to be my main office MacBook and this is the server, and I am configuring here directly on the server since I have the MacBook here. And once that setup is done, it will just sit it here ideally, and then we can access that application from anywhere. So I'll access that from my main office MacBook and then showcase how it runs. Okay, so the first thing you need to install in order to run multiple application is Docker. So we are going to use Docker to install and manage multiple application, and then obviously Google Chrome, and we need a VS Code to edit some code which we are going to do in upcoming step. I'll start with n8n. n8n is nothing but an automation tool, and they also support AI agents to have a conversation and do analyze and all that stuff. I want to install this because I can do multiple automation on my server, and then I can run them independently without paying any much or any cost at all. So we'll install n8n. This is the official documentation. What you do is we need to create this Docker volume. Once you install that, you will have this Docker in your terminal. So it will create a n8 data volume which basically store all the n8 information there, and then I'll just copy. But before running it, you need to do few things. Remove this -rm command. What it does is basically that whenever you stop a container, it deletes the container automatically, but we don't want to do that. Whenever our PC get restarted, we want to run that again. So I'll just remove this. And here we have different parameters here. Generic time zone, this is by default permission enabled. There are multiple permission, for example setting up best URL and all that stuff, but I'm not going to go into that detail. I'm going to just talk about how to run an application in Docker and set up as a server. So here's the link to check the time zone here. So here is the time zone, Kolkata. So I'll just copy this, so paste it here. So now whatever the n8n running in, it will use this as a time zone. Since I am running it here, so I'll use my time zone here, but whatever time zone you are in, will be running there. And now I'll just create this. So we'll just wait until it's get completed. Okay, so this app will run locally in my machine, which I'm going to showcase once it's get downloaded. But in order to connect with a server, and there are multiple ways of doing it. One is to set up a DNS record and set the IP there and doing all that stuff. And there is a simple way of doing it, is basically tunneling. So we are going to use Cloudflare Tunnel in our application. Okay, so now I have signed it up here. I have to go zero trust to create that tunnel and mesh. So this is my existing tunnel. I'll just create a new one. It will be select Cloudflare, and I'll just name as a test server, and I'll just save this tunnel. Now, so this will give me this command. It will install Cloudflare in my server machine, and then we'll connect with this token. Copy this. So what will happen that it will keep running in the background, and it will be always connected to my server. So whenever a request come through a domain, it will tunnel through this and will give access to the application running on my server. Now if I click on this localhost, it's still, I think, running inside it. I can go and check the logs here. Yeah, and now this application is running in my local server. To go next, and it will send me the key to my email, and I can start building my workflow here. So now my n8n is working in here, but then now the question is, how do I access as a server? So I'll go to my test server, and here we have a publish application route. In order to direct via a domain name, we need to have a domain name. So I have already purchased a domain on a Cloudflare. So this is the only time where you have to pay something like $8 or $10 for a whole domain. And once you have a domain, you can have any amount of subdomain, and you can use that application for it. So here I'll just create a add publish route here, name it test n8n. Will create my domain which is already being purchased on Cloudflare. So I'll just use this. I can define a path, but I don't need that. And now here I need to tell where it's need to redirect to. So this is my server currently running. So I'll just say it will be an HTTP, and then it's a local host with the port here. So I'll just copy this because this is the actual port we are running into, and set this up here. And when I hit save, it will say successfully created DNS record for this. And if you want to test this out, and .tech. So as you can see now that I can access this from my PC here. So yeah, you can see that now I can create n8n flows. You can see that from my main, if I refresh this application is running fine. Because this server right now, which is here, is currently open. But let's say if I put this down here, it will get turned off. And if I try to refresh here, so you can see that this is giving an error, bad gateway. The reason why it's happening is because since I have closed my lid here, the background processing is stopped. So the Cloudflare Tunnel, which was running, is not running anymore. Hence, it's showing bad gateway, and we don't want to do that. We want to keep our server running all the time. So what we need to do is we need to have a mechanism where it keep running in background even the LED is turned off. I'll just open it. So the simplest way to do is to install an app which allows you to run things in the background even the lid is closed. So I have opened it up, and I think the tunnel will automatically get connected since it's open up. And if I refresh this again, and yeah, you can see that it's working now. Now what we want to do is we want to run this app always in the background even the LED closed. So we need an app for that, and we already have an app for that called Amphetamine. This is an app on App Store. You can install it from there or you can download it. And this is the app, and this app has a lot of settings to play around with, like if you want to run for certain minutes, certain hours, or until some specific time, or you have some settings that if it's like under 10%, 5%, it should stop, or in a deep sleep or something like that. I want here to run this indefinitely because if I'll close, and it should run forever. I'll just click this on indefinitely, and now it's running. Now if I close my screen, this should run. I'll just close my screen here. And now if I refresh this, it will keep running because this now app is running in the background. But now there is another problem that I want to power plug it and keep running it forever. So I'll just open it again. Okay, so one issue with Amphetamine is that whenever you connect a charger to it, there is some power fluctuation happens. So because of that, the Amphetamine process get killed sometime. So it stops working behind in the background. What you want is whenever you close a lid, it should work all the time. So to tackle that, Amphetamine has a companion app called Amphetamine Enhancer, and that enhancer is basically separated app, companion app in a GitHub, because it has some security patches which does not go through the App Store. So you have to download on the side and run it. And once you run it, it will have that capability of running it forever in the background regardless of you connect a cable or not. So what you have to do is you have to install it first, then go through this Amphetamine Enhancer. There are two modes: close display mode failsafe, that if you close and some power fluctuate, it automatically gets powered on and it keep running in the background. So you just install this, and enhance app and processing monitoring. So you both install that, and when you install this, no matter you close the LED with plug charger forever, it will keep running in the background. So it will act as a server and it will run 24/7. And one more thing, since you are going to run this 24/7, you need to have some cooling mechanism. Either you should have a very cool room, or if you don't have, then you need to have this fan. I have this cable attached to it, so it gets plugged in the Mac and it will keep running the Mac on this, and the fan will keep running it, so it won't get that much heated. So yeah, I mean, it's cheap, it's not that expensive, so you can buy, and then you can put it up here and it will run 24/7. Now we are able to run our n8n application here, but we also want to run multiple application here because this is a server with 16 GB RAM, and if we are using this one application, then we are just wasting resources. So one use case I want to build is that I want to use n8n to send regular messages to the patient. I have created a workflow here. You can see this is the actual workflow which is running it, but in this workflow you can see that there is an open WhatsApp node which is basically sending a text, and that open WhatsApp node is a separate application which is running. There is a way to run WhatsApp with a business API, but there is also a way to run via normal as a web application. That works fine with just small automation, as we are trying to do for my personal application, just to send reminder to the patient. So I am using an application for this called OpenWA. If you go to the GitHub, it's basically provide all the dashboard and configuring all that setup. So I want to run this application on my server in a Docker container, and then access this via Cloudflare Tunnel in the n8n app. First, I'll just run this application. So I have to clone this and then run as a Docker Compose YAML here. So I'll just clone this. So this will clone the whole code in my code base. Currently the image is not available, so I cannot directly run via Docker command, but that would be way much more simpler. I have cloned it. Okay. You can see the code base here. I can just try to open a code. So this is the whole code base, and you have a Docker Compose here. I'll go here and copy this command. It will run Docker container, download all the images it requires for it, and then it will run here as a Docker container here. Okay, now it's completed, and when we go inside this Docker, we see that we have this OpenWA container and it's running. And if we go inside this open here, you see that OpenWA is running here, and it will ask us for the key. And this is the important thing to consider from a security perspective, that this is the key which allows you to enter into the dashboard. But where do we find this key? Is that we go into this Docker, and if you copy it here, it will show this key for the first time. So I'll just copy it here. So I have saved this, and then go here and do a connect, and here I can run it multiple sessions for it. So if I want to run one session, I'll come here, my number, and what it will do is it will run a WhatsApp web behind the scene. So if you want to start it, we'll load a QR code. Now the QR code is there. Once I scan it and log in it, it will successfully log in, and then I can have this session ID, which would be my session ID for my number. So it would be running behind WhatsApp web behind the scene. So now how do we run this into n8n? So they have an API for it. I can come here and create different key for different access. You can come here, create and use an tester here and create it, and you can just copy this key, which you can allow to send messages and does not change any setting. So I'll just come here and I'll just run, let's say, a schedule trigger. I want to run every midnight and send a WhatsApp message to someone. Let's say want to wish an happy birthday. I need to use this OpenWA node. So I'll just come here and I need to install from community node. Node. Since we're running this here in a local host, we need to connect to our domain so that it can access by n8n from anywhere. Similarly, how we did for n8n, we will use for this OpenWA. So I'll just go to my Cloudflare account where we connected my test server. So yeah, and now I'll come again here in the publish route. I'll add another route. I'll just say test OpenWA. I'll just select my domain, choose here HTTP, and I'll just copy this and post it here. I'll just hit save. Now I have this connected, and if I open it, now it's running in my local, but I can access it from here, from anywhere. Key here. I'm just showing how it can be added in the n8n and how each services can be connected with one another. So I'll just search here OpenWA, which we got installed. And let's say I want to send a text message. Now for that I have to create a credential. In credential it will ask for a URL. So we'll use this URL here where we are running it, and obviously the API which I copied earlier, I put it here and I try to save, and it will test the connection which is got successfully. And here we have to add a number. You can get the number dynamically from the node flow. Add some hello world here, and then you can execute that step, and that way you can connect it here, and whenever something happens it will automatically send message to that. So that's how this whole service are integrated with one another. Two application, n8n and OpenWA, which is the WhatsApp one, and they can integrate with each other using this domain names. So I'm basically running this on n8n, test n8n, and then this is running on test OpenWA, and they are connected to each other. Okay, so one more interesting use case is to run AI model locally.
We are going to download Ollama for that.
So I am downloading it right now. And once it gets downloaded, you can go through the models here. So I'm going to run this Ollama as an AI agent to give a prompt and get access to different tool and do the operation based on that. So for those kind of things, there's a tool options. And you can use pretty much this tool. Just don't try to get the biggest model and run it because it's required a lot of RAM. I'm currently limited to 16 GB, so I need to install only those models which I required. So here it's downloading the model. So the good thing is that when we install this application, it's automatically run this API behind the scene. So if we want to check this, what we can do is we can copy this. Here you can see that when I run this, we show this Ollama running in the console. That means it's running. But there is one problem, is that this API is publicly exposed. That is, if I connect through my test server here, it will publicly expose and anyone can access this. And you might be thinking that it's your domain and it's not easy to find. If you go to this issue here, which were basically requesting support for basic auth, here is search query where you can search Ollama is running, and it will basically give you all the IP address or the server which is running this Ollama, and it is publicly available. I don't want to access this directly, but if my local LLM is open, then anyone can do DOS attack and use all my resources. So we want to use authentication here, and I think the best tool to do this, and if we want to do reverse proxy and all that stuff, is Nginx. It's nothing but a web server which provides reverse proxy and also all the basic HTTP authentication. We have to just set it up properly, and it will run on our server, which is basically this machine, and whatever incoming requests are coming, it will route to proper API, whatever we define in the config, and it will also ask for authentication if we have set up it for it. So it's already installed on my PC. In order to start, first I need to find a config file load. So I'll just see where it is. Here is the config file. I'll just open that in a VS Code, so it's very easy to edit. This is ng config file. We need to set up a server, and then we need to make sure that which port we are listening to, and this is where the reverse proxy will come in, and we defined our location here and do the authentication we want to do here. I'll go through this request support for basic authentication. So I'll just copy this. So I don't need this. I'll just copy this server here, paste it here, and I'll just give this as a 9000 port. I don't need this server name or domain for now. Also, I don't need this certificate. So here's the location. Instead of Ollama, I'll just say localhost. So this was the port number. So what it'll do is it will just listen to a 9000 port, and whatever is there, it will check for a bearer token similar to this, and if it is not there, it will say unauthorized, and if it's there, then it will basically proxy pass to this, and our API should be working properly. So just to test that, first we'll just test with a basic curl. Ollama curl. Paste this curl here. So we have downloaded this model. I'll just add that here. Now this is going to our local host here, so I'll just add here and see if I'll get a response. So you can see now we are getting the response, all the information like thinking and all those stuff. Now we want to add an authentication layer to it. So I'll just add this 9000 port in our test server here. So I'll just create here Ollama, and I'll add Tech here, and it will be HTTPS 9000, which is basically our Nginx port, and it will reverse proxy to the actual Ollama port. So I'll just save it here. So if we go here right now, it says 50 not found because our Nginx server is not running. So what I'll do is disable this for now, save here, and I'll just run the server here. So now it's running, and if I refresh it, we can see Ollama is running and it's publicly accessible. But now we want to add security to it. So let's say I have this curl and I just don't want to have the stream. If I click here, add enter. So yeah, you can see now it's generating the answer. That means the API is public and it's working. Now we want to add authentication to it. So I'll just come back here and I'll just enable this. Now here the point is I can add any random key, but the point is that you should generate in a secure way. My point here is to show that the person who has this key can only access your server local LLM. So yeah, I'll just save this now and I'll just restart the Nginx server. If I come here and if I hit refresh, it will give me error because now it requires a header, and in this get request it doesn't pass any header, and says the site is not reachable. And if we call through this API earlier, which we did earlier here, it will say unauthorized because the header is not there. So now we need to add a header. So I'll copy this sit here, and if you pass a wrong key, then also it will get unauthorized because this is not the key. The key is actually this, so we'll copy this, pass that as a key, and once that key ends, we are getting the response. So yeah, that's how we use Nginx for authentication. You can do a lot of other things like rerouting to a different path. For example, if you want to go specific to admin area or any other part, or show specific page or on unauthorized or access denied, you can basically configure that here, and you can run multiple service and join all those together in Nginx here. So yeah, now since this local LLM is running, you can pretty much configure that in your n8n. You can go to this workflow, search Ollama here. You can, let's say, messenger model here in the setup credential. You can come here and set up the base URL and API key here, and then connect it to that our local LLM, and then it will process all those things here, and then this will be connected here, and you can create your own chatbot here. Okay, so one more application which I want to add is observability and monitoring tool. So there is a tool called Nginx. This is the tool which basically you run and it show all the stat, kind of an activity monitor for your server. And if you run this, it will have a local terminal as well and web interface as well. But we want to run as a web interface so that we can access it from domain. So here is the Docker. If we want to run into web server mode, which basically given a web application, this is the command which we need to run. Copy this and run this. Now it's not able to find image, so it will download it and then run it. So we'll just wait here till that. Now if I go to my Docker, it says Nginx, and if I click here, you can see that it's running. So basically it's saying n8n my container Docker here, and OpenWA API, which is basically running from last 13 minutes, how much memory it's consuming, and all other activities. It can also be seen here what things are running. So one thing to note here is that all the stat you are seeing is coming inside from this Docker container, from all this container, not outside this. I mean, whatever running outside this container in the Mac is not something coming it here, because we have give the config of Nginx to run inside the Docker, and this is what we actually want. You don't see the Ollama API running here because it's running outside of that. I can run it inside the Docker, but for timing I'm just showcasing that you can see it from here. If you want to track stat of all your Mac, you have to mount your Mac location to that. So similarly, I can map this port to routes here, but the problem is that this would be publicly available. It's only for me. I'm going to use again Nginx to set it up and have an authentication, but this time I'll have a username password authentication on the console rather than having an API key. So we need to generate HTTP password for Nginx. I think in the Xcode it's already available. So we are going to copy this here, and I'm going to come here. I'll just say we are test admin, which is my username is. I'll say let's just save it in my password, and when I hit enter, it will ask for new password 0. So now it's done. Password has been created. So if we go here and see here my password, it's basically create test admin and the password here, and it's basically encrypted, and it will decrypt it later on when we enter it. Here I'll come here again, and then in the ngconfig we need to add something like this. Copy this here, go to my ngconfig here, I'll paste it that here. So now I'll just say, let's say the port is 9001 because we already used 9000 here. So I'll just use 9001 here, and I'll just remap to this restricted user, and it will be the password is my words. So I'll just set up my proxy pass here, which is HTTPL local port, which is this one. I'll go it here. localhost. I'll just, and then semicolon. Yeah, we don't need this, so save it here, and then I'll do reload. Now if I come here and do 9001, it will ask me for my username and 90. If I sign in, it will show it up. Now since it's secure, we can now map this to our here. So I'll just say stat, and I'll just say it will be HTTPS, and then it will be localhost 9001. I think it's save here and go here. It will again ask for password, and so if I add something here, it will keep asking me until it's correct. So that's how it is. So it says 401 not authorized, and if I do it again, let's say test not, and I'll say password. Now it's allowing me to sign in, and I can see all my system stats running inside it. So yeah, that's how you can use Glances to take a look at how your all the services are running. Currently it's 3, but in my real server I am running more than that. So
That's it for this video. Thank you for watching, and if you like this video then please like, share and subscribe. Thank you. See you in the next video.